I just couldn't get it done.
You said you would.
I know, I had great intentions.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
Welcome to another episode of Life's Inside Track, where we share techniques, thoughts, tools that we all need, we all deserve to turn our house into home where our families thrive and we live the best life possible. In this episode, we're going to learn that intention, often we measure ourselves by it. And yet, it may not be enough if other people have great intentions. We might just be measuring them by their actions.
I think that's all we can measure them by is their actions.
Yeah, and sometimes I find that you know somebody's heart well enough, you start to maybe measure them by their intention. Right? Because if you, like, I know your intention.
Yes, when you know someone's heart, like a family member or a spouse or someone that you've been with for a long time, you know their heart.
Right. And so then you can, although we don't tend to, assess by intention. We can only really assess someone else by their actions, is what you're saying.
Yes. And I think sometimes when you're in a relationship with somebody like we are, that
for like a really, 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 really long time.
Well, a little over 40 years married.
Yeah.
Hopefully I get it right more than I get it wrong. So then that builds okay, he has good intentions. He has a good heart. He's trying to do the things that I've asked him to do.
Right.
And yet still, sometimes I don't quite make it.
Right. So we tend to measure ourselves by our intentions.
Because the road, what's that? Road to ruin is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, something like that.
A good intention is important as long as there's follow through and good action to follow the good intention.
Right. And yet when there isn't, I will normally, often, not always, let myself off the hook. So one of the things that I always have great intention about is getting my real estate behind the scenes paperwork in and processed.
On time?
On time. Right. And I guess there's two different rules of thumb as to when the right time is. Because I always do it before it's like the absolute, it must be in.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Before we need, well, mostly.
No, because the office asks for the paperwork in a certain amount of time.
Forget what they ask for.
Well, that's when it must be in by. But here's the truth. Because you're a person of great intentions, your intention is to serve our clients. And so if that means the paperwork has to wait because submitting paperwork can wait compared to a client who needs to see a house or a client that needs to put an offer in on a property or a client that needs your consultation, then the paperwork can wait. And I think that's a good philosophy, although the people that are relying on that paperwork at the office, and that's their job, is to process paperwork because that's their main thing, they can get a little upset with your intention.
Right. And so maybe you've run into that too, where you know that you desire, and I desire to have it in early because I don't actually enjoy getting an email saying, it's been a few days now, haven't seen no paperwork. And I'm thinking, I know it's keeping me up at night, but not enough that I'm willing to go sit in my computer at midnight and do the work. So I definitely have the intention to do it, and the other things that are more pressing, that are more important to the client, that are client facing and that affect the client, I will do all day, every day. And I apologize nicely and I don't get nasty about it. And yet I think it gets a little tiring for them because they can't know my action. Well, my action speaks louder than my intention for them.
Absolutely.
Even though it doesn't for me.
Well, that's what you say. You say it to me. You say you love me, but you're not acting loving. Did I throw myself under the bus? I think I did.
I think you did.
Yeah, it happens once in a while. Now, one of the intentions we had back when COVID started a couple of years ago was to build a course, a curriculum that would help people move from one place in their life, maybe a place of good intentions, to a place where they're even more satisfied and joyful and happy with their life. And that program's called the 31 Life Step Journey. And you can actually jump on that journey by going to doubledecker.life.
Absolutely. And it's at doubledecker.life, because we also have deckerteam.com. And so sometimes we don't want to create confusion for you. So we've actually separated where you get access to more of the life curriculum, and yet recognize that even the life curriculum is very connected to real estate, because foundationally underneath all of it, we've been on a real estate wealth building journey for, I guess, almost 35 years now. And so it's fed in underneath, but they fit together like a hand in a glove, I think is what we're saying. And yet we've separated out so for ease and for lack of confusion, but recognize they actually work together.
Right. And so when you have good intentions and you speak those, then people are expecting what you said you were going to do. And it's kind of like, let the tongue in your mouth match the tongue in your shoes. Get into action about what you said you were going to do. Now, there are things that get in the way sometimes, right?
Pop-ups.
Yeah, like pop-ups. Like, have you ever had pop-ups on your screen? You probably have a pop-up blocker on your computer, right? So that all these pop-up ads don't distract you from what you're doing. Well, with me, there's pop-ups in my world. Pop-ups are a phone call. Pop-ups are, a client drops in. Pop-ups are an agent asks me, hey, do you got a minute to help me with this problem? A pop-up is a friend calling. Those are pop-ups in my world. And sometimes those pop-ups cause me to be late for you when I had good intentions of being home on time.
Right. So he's talking to me right now. If you're listening and not watching on the YouTube channel, then what you didn't see is he was looking at me, not at you, to say he's not going to be late for you because he's not seldom. He's likely to allow a pop-up to take him out of being on time for a client. It has happened though. So if you're a client and you're going, oh, he was late for me.
Not often.
Not often.
I turned a different leaf because I used to think, I can get one more thing done.
Yeah.
I can just get one more thing done. I'll just do this before I leave. And then I would get in the car and I go, it says it's going to take me 30 minutes to get there and I only got 20 minutes. And now I got to rush and maybe break some rules. Yeah. And I'm still 5 minutes late. But that's not happening very much anymore.
No.
Most of the time I'm there 5-10 minutes early.
Yeah.
I'll pull over to the side like I did yesterday with a client. And I just checked my emails and got caught up. And then I pulled up to the house 1 minute before our showing time.
Perfect. And so building in time to allow for pop-ups is part of how to get your intentions to align with your actions. So like Ken said, the tongue in your mouth, aligning with the tongue in your shoe is by building in margin, building in time so that you don't get lost. And then one of the things that I love to do is every single day, prioritize, write out 1 to 3 things. That's all I'm thoroughly and absolutely committed to getting done that day, the most important. And I stay with the first one until it's done and then move on to the second. Some days there's only one item, like on production days, like today. Really, the only thing we can commit to is being here, being with you and recording this episode. And so that's it.
Yeah, highly important. Now, sometimes I'm gonna admit, sometimes social media sucks me into my device and I lose track of time. And then I end up being late for you or somebody else. So what I've done now is Facebook. So I don't scroll too long. I've set a timer. Yeah. So after 15 minutes, it goes, your time for today is done.
Right. And
no more Facebook.
Right. Then he can focus on the next. So we're grateful to be your partners in moving forward together on the journey of wealth, wisdom, and worth.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.